Hi, my name is Ram, and I am on Team 23. I have built YAL, which is short for Yet Another LLM. And I want to start from the POV, right? Let's get ourselves in the minds of a person who wants to use an app like this to kind of motivate what we're building. So a mobile shopper who starts with a specific item in mind needs a conversational AI copilot that instantly gathers the best options, exposes every fee, and flags seller trust because tiny screen apps scatter those details, forcing tedious back and forth searches that stall an otherwise smooth search to purchase journey. So from that alone, we can actually extrapolate three key features, right? We have to gather options, in other words, present what the user might want. We have to expose every fee that includes taxes and shipping. And then, of course, we have to flag seller trust because, as we know, certain websites are not trustworthy in the sense they can facilitate a scam if we're not careful. Now, I think what makes this unique here is that you're starting with a specific item in mind, right? So instead of what's called a discovery first shopping model, where a person will go onto a website and then browse there, and then if they come across a product they like, they might buy it. Here, you can actually change the paradigm where you can think of a product you want, right? Let's say I want a yellow dress with red roses on it, and then you put that into the LLM, and then you're matched with the product, right? So this is actually letting you imagine what product you want and then scraping the web to see if that exists. So this is actually gleaned from milestone two's ideation, where we actually received this feedback. Melissa said, wouldn't it be nice to actually think of a product and then work from there? And so this is kind of how we've built our product. Now, here are sort of an aggregation of user goals and needs. I won't go into this for the sake of time, but really this is just translating, let's say, having all the costs up front, um, having a sense of confidence in seller reliability, or having the ability to establish coupons or promotions using the model. We've translated all of those into what their correlating features would be in terms of what the user need equivalent would be. Now, in milestone three, and this is really before the relevance of the LLM came into play, we actually had a low fidelity prototype. So the idea was it would grab, from a particular website. So you would actually have to start browsing, and then you would grab from that, and then you would be seen, or you would be shown rather, a screen that aggregates information about the product, right? You would have to add it in, and then it would basically load in those details, and you would have a very clear view of all the products you're considering. And so that would help you kind of make a decision there. And the feedback we received was that, well, the trust rating should likely be color coded. You should have a total cost feature so that you can actually make a better, more refined decision. You should be able to select which product you want after being shown that screen, and you should have a final checkout screen. So in milestone four, that's exactly what we did. We did those things. But then I think in consideration was, well, every time a user would propose a new feature, we would go off and add a new button to the Chrome extension. Now that paired with the fact that most shoppers, I think there's a statistic out there that says 80% of shoppers actually shop online with mobile. We decided to actually put this all behind an LLM so that we're not constantly adding new features, but these features all exist behind the curtain of an intelligent agent that can understand what you want. So we're not constantly in this development cycle of adding new features every time there's a request. And so it's really missing that LLM component, and all of this can be better scaffolded with assistive AI. And so that's where we introduce YAL, which of course, like I said before, is yet another LLM. It's a fully assistive LLM across the whole life cycle of purchase. And we'll actually see this in action, right? And so we actually moved away from using Balsamiq to using Figma, because Figma actually lets you establish interactive behavior across each screen with transitional behavior. And so with that, we were able to, and by we, I mean myself, we were able to, kind of create each screen that approximates what some of those user goals were. And of course, we'll go into this. So we'll try a prototype real quick. I think it's best actually to do this on Chrome, just so the animations work. Let's see here. So I spoke too soon. This is supposed to spin, but so be it. So you can sign in, and then you can see, well, maybe a potential feature, or not a feature rather, but a search query is a yellow dress under $50, and you can send that in. And then it will show you everything that matches that query. And of course, of that, right, once you have those initial options, you can actually refine your search. So you could say, okay, well, I like these, but I would much rather have them be cotton, right? So you could say, well, I really only want it to be cotton. It says no problem, and it gives you a different set of results. And of those results, you can then, of course, select which ones you find attractive. And then, as you can tell, your cart actually updates dynamically, and then you get an aggregation. So this is really the equivalent of that balsamic, stagnant, bland frame we had, right? We have the trustability ratings, we have the taxes, we have the cost, we have how the product looks. And of course, if we don't like the trustability rating, we could remove the product. So this is the kind of iterative behavior we would like to establish if YAL were actually programmed, where the LLM actually assists you dynamically across the whole life cycle of a purchase.